realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. Today, mostly dry and clear, though some rain chances, limited ones on the way. We'll look toward when maybe some more significant ones could. Coming up with Professor Possible, otherwise known as meteorologist Gabe Maynard, here in a few minutes. But thankfully clear out there. Today is the 3-year anniversary of the strong EF4 tornado that moved through Rolling Fork. Of course, one of the killer tornadoes of that night on March 24th, 2023. Things continue to rehabilitate there, of course, in the Rolling Fork area. Many other locations that were hit that night, such as Winona and the Amory area. Part of the reason why this camera network with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers exists is because of the need to have seen better that night, and hopefully the lives will be saved in the future. Rolling Fork, Amory, flat clouds, no vertical development. Those two signs there, of course, of the dry and non-severe conditions that we have to wrap up this month of March. And that is something that largely going forward is going to remain the story here. There's no real severe weather ahead over the course of not just the next 5 days, but really in many cases the next 8 to maybe 10 days. We are looking relatively dry, knock on wood, relatively calm ahead. But that does mean we're going to be warming up, and we're going to be nearly 90 later this week, which is crazy to think. I don't know that anybody goes over that 90-degree threshold, but some car bank thermometers could get pretty close to that. We'll look at how that compares versus records. And then if you're allergic to the pollen, our pollen forecast has the obvious in it. The yellow death in full swing with that pollen certainly coating things. I have a blue truck. It's gone green because of that this last few days here, and I'm sure it's been the case for you as well with that coating of pollen out there. 10% on that rain coverage with 7 to 10 p.m. tonight. What little rain chances we have, I'm not going to clean that off. You're going to have to do that yourself. Mother Nature's just not interested. We're 58 by 10, 55 by 1 o'clock in the morning, 53 by 4 a.m., and coming around 51 to begin early morning on your Wednesday. With those partly cloudy skies, a few isolated showers. We're tracking those, have been tracking those on Mama Justice Doppler radar. But the latest scans that we see there, not really detecting anything of substance. We have it basically in clear air mode. You saw a little green. We bring it over to kind of the regular mode, the composite. Nothing's really being detected there. So mainly high and thin clouds, the storyline, not just here, but across a good chunk of the region at this time. In fact, you look across the southeast in general, just kind of high and thin clouds. Our most recent front down there toward the Gulf of Mexico. And the story, much like it was yesterday, has been the dry air that's still largely the overall pattern. We've started to shift our winds around a little bit here closer to the surface. Got a little closer to that than I meant to there, but we still, generally speaking, have the drier air that's kind of moving in from the north and west with us. Next storm system back out there toward the plains, but this one, you see how it has that brown line with it, what we call a trough of low pressure? You could argue the air behind this is drier more than anything else. And the next storm system where we start looking at something that could try to get in here and try to bring some moisture, still out in the Pacific Northwest. And that is a long, long ways away. And a lot will change as it gets closer to us. But I mean, we're showing that one, the better part of 2,000 miles away from us. Even with that much time, and a lot of times we're like, oh, it's one system on the heels of another. Will we have enough moisture by the time it gets here? Because the overall pattern aloft, we have that northwest flow, we're not going to see I think a ton of lower level moisture starting to return. And that's what largely keeps us relatively dry, even despite the fact that we're going to have maybe a sprinkle out there, and despite the fact we'll start to see some southerly winds returning. So as you can see on our futurecast over the course of the overnight period, we're looking at 10 p.m. here toward around midnight or so. Not much in the way of precipitation. A little bit of that back to the north and east. That is about it. So 52, that temperature. We'll look in more detail at some of those sprinkles and the rain chances here in a minute, but we're looking at 10% on that rain coverage through 9 a.m. to maybe noon time. not impossible to have at least some of those dotting the windshield as you head out to school and work tomorrow morning. Our meteorologist Maggie McCauley, of course, will be looking at that with the interactive version of the Mama Justice Doppler radar. But by 3 p.m., we're 79, pushing near 80 degrees, 77 by 6 p.m. under what are mostly clear, or at least partly cloudy skies. Now, coming up here in 60 seconds, we're looking at that pollen forecast. Looking ahead over the course of the next few days at some of the rain chances with that next front. We'll track when it arrives in the area and what that could eventually mean to some of those rain chances. That's coming up here in 60 seconds as Mississippi Live Weather continues from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
When C.K. Little opened his doors in downtown Corinth nearly 80 years ago, his plan was simple: deliver excellent service and exceed expectations. That's why we say a little gift goes a long way.
After a storm, the damage is not always obvious. And if it's not documented correctly, it can cost you. With a decade of experience, we know exactly what to look for. We handle the inspection, claim support, and the roof. Storm season is coming. Make sure you have absolute restoration on your side.
By the time you see the symptoms of lung cancer, it could be too late. Now there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early. If you smoked, get scanned.
This portion of Mississippi Live Weather is presented by Little's Jewelers.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Laubon.
Sometimes graphics are obvious. This would be one of those. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Laubon. Thank you so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather. The pollen outlook today, next couple days, remains extremely high. I know that's not a shock. Tree pollen in particular, going wild out there at this point. Obviously, we don't have a lot of weeds, grass, or mold pollen. This one, typically this time of year we'd be talking more about, but considering what is largely still widespread drought, the mold, not particularly high at this point in time, but just can't wait for that one to come down. My nose is burning right now. If you're anything like me, I'm sure you fall in that category. Send in those pictures, whether it's of the beautiful skies or maybe that pollen-covered car. I think that'd be a more common sight today. Outside in Smithville, 69 degrees current temperature. And of course, Smithville hit by that big tornado that we had 3 years ago today. Remembering, of course, those that lost their lives in those tornadoes of March 24th, 2023. These are just flat clouds, we'll call altocumulus clouds. No precipitation going to come from these. And 69 there in the Monroe County area. Appreciate North Mississippi Storm Chasers partnering with us on all these cameras. Oxford showing up with, again, a mix of cloud cover there at this point in time. Again, appreciate Phoenix Building Solutions for partnering with us here on Mississippi Live Weather. And you can be one of our partners sponsoring one of our cameras around the area, like this one up there in Alcorn County, 70 degrees current temperature at this point. In all these cases, look at that number right there, that measure of moisture, that dew point coming in around 34, not high. So that is that dry air. Those pretty nice shot there of the golden sky looking toward the western horizon at this point. So next few hours here, couple of sprinkles a possibility, but we're not expecting it to add up to much more than just sprinkles. 65 that temperature at 8 p.m. We're 57 there by 11 and 54 as we head toward around 2 o'clock in the morning. A Mama Justice Doppler radar. Again, no precipitation kind of on the local shot here, really close to home. I'm going to go really wide and let's kind of talk about the overall setup here because I think it's kind of critical where we go from here. And I might actually have to go even wider than this. Let's go out and we'll see if we can change this over to kind of more colorful version of the radar here, the infrared color version, and I'll put this to a longer loop. Let's make this a good 12-hour loop, and hopefully that'll kind of speed this up just a little bit more. But what you see is this kind of big area here, right? In the middle of this, we have a mid-level area of high pressure, despite the fact that it has an L right there, right? There's basically a giant high pressure center that's just directing traffic across this entire section of the world. You can see the overall kind of movement of all these clouds, kind of the north there, and you can even kind of see something heading back toward the west down south. So that clockwise motion signified by just kind of a huge overall ridge of high pressure, kind of all levels of the atmosphere ongoing back out toward the Baja. Why does this matter? This has kept us dry, and this pattern And when it really sticks around like this, dominates. And so that's what's not breaking down, I think, really this week at all. So we're having to take all of our moisture, come all the way from basically up in Canada and crash it down toward us. That's a tall order. It's part of the reason it's been ineffective on most of our projections on doing that, and part of the reason why I think the next few days here, we're probably going to be a lot more dry than wet going forward. Looking at Futurecast, as you'll note, that's exactly what we show with some more active weather back out, sort of close to this trough on the plains, but even that doesn't have much to work with. You have to go all the way back up to Billings, Montana to get anything even somewhat close to us. So we bring it back in here to Magnolia State. We do have a couple of sprinkles depicted there. Again, notice the direction, kind of moving to the north and west, still completely dominated by that ridge back out in the Baja of California. But these sprinkles are about as much moisture as we see, and even those rather unimpressive. So 50, that temperature starting your day in Hamilton, Alabama. Be 51 in Houston and Bruce, 52 degrees in Oxford, 51 in Water Valley, and 56 in Grenada. IMPC school bus forecast for tomorrow with 51 at pickup, 79 degrees at drop-off. Under will be a mix of cloud cover there and maybe some sprinkles. But this is kind of both ends of the spectrum, right? I think in the morning you'll probably have to have at least a light jacket, depending on if you're waiting at the bus stop or if you're just running in the school. Okay, maybe you can get away with that. That's my way of giving Penny Law upon an out tomorrow. Be 79 by afternoon, though. You will be fairly warm there. Some spots to around 80. Warmer than today for tomorrow. And then we show a couple of sprinkles on here. Notice Futurecast has what looks like a lot of rainfall. It's not. Because if you check out our scale, this is about as light as it goes. So most of this is just kind of sprinkles trying to fall into mainly dry air. Now, for a moment there, you saw briefly maybe a little bit more, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Even there, we're not expecting a whole lot as we remain mostly dry. Kind of that sort of mix of cloud cover like what we had today. Still overall the story. We show a few more of those puffy cumulus clouds kind of trying to come out of the south and west toward us as we go in the afternoon. We'll go 84 in Grenada, Greenwood, and Belzona for highs. Typically should be 69, so running above that. 79 in Amory, will be 82 in Bruce and Houston, 82 in Starkville, and 80 degrees in Columbus. Our winds generally a little bit convergent, mostly out of the south as we go into your Wednesday afternoon, but you'll notice not much out there. Even if I go on the wide shot there, we show sprinkles still down there south of Hattiesburg and Jackson, Alabama there. And so not anything moving toward us for the most part as we stay mostly clear. Notice a little bit of cloud cover, 1:32, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to go northward there. Hattiesburg's toward maybe around Kosciuszko by dawn, early Thursday. A sign of some moisture returning, but not enough, as we are probably just not going to prime the atmosphere enough by the time the next frontal system arrives. So Thursday starts off around 62 Greenwood and Grenada, 46 where we should be. Come on. We are way above that once again to around 61 in Oxford, 59 Tupelo, and 59 Vernon, Alabama, and Aliceville. So we keep those southerly winds around. Again, some patches of cloud, maybe partly cloudy skies. I think more of those cumulus clouds popping up as we head toward the afternoon there, Thursday, 3, 4, 5 p.m., where we should, again, stay mostly dry on Thursday. Those next slight rain chances by Friday, and we'll look at that with Futurecast here in a moment. 86 in Tupelo and New Albany, coming in 86 degrees in Water Valley, Greenwood, and Grenada, about 87 degrees. We're 87 Kosciuszko, 85 Tunica, and 84 degrees in Senatobia. So as we head into your Thursday night, we'll go wider on the shot here. That next front approaching us, back to the north and west, up here toward Wichita, Kansas, back up toward St. Louis. Moisture showing that north of it. Clouds coming out of the south. Okay, these things are starting to sound encouraging. I'm maybe trying to see a little bit of moisture, but notice how it just kind of, I don't know if you noticed that. But we have something called the low-level jet that tends to kick up overnight. It's what helps to kind of bring some of the cloud cover out of the Gulf of Mexico. A lot of times it plows northward. We get the clouds all the way up to the northern part of Mississippi, even to the Tennessee state line. In advance of a storm system, we start looking at all these things. We're like, okay, that looks good. We're going to see maybe some rain. Notice how it just kind of poofs out before it really gets here. So we don't have enough lower level moisture that by that time gets here for it to really activate it. Now, we do show a few showers here. We're 10 a.m. on Friday. And so this is one of our best rain chances over the course of this week. But as you'll note here, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, maybe some sprinkles right at or slightly behind this front. This is about as unimpressive as you're going to see a front come through in late March. Even up northeast of us, where we have a little bit more, we're only showing some oranges, and none of it's really at the front. A lot of this moisture coming with this system from the north and west. The takeaway being this: is this our best rain chance in the next 7 days? It really probably could be. And this is not impressive, right? So some lighter showers possible at or near that front, maybe a couple sprinkles behind it. We're hoping that's not something that impacts our Mississippi Live game of the week, because we still show a few of these up here near the Tennessee state line. I think our leader right now, what is it? Is it Baldwin and New Site, I think? We'll see. Of course, if you find my Facebook page, just search for facebook.com/MattOnTV or Mississippi Live. It should come up in both those cases there. You can vote on our Mississippi Live game of the week. So go and get those votes in if you think that you would like to beat that one there. Notice with those clouds and those showers, temperatures are a little cooler up here. We show Senatobia at 79 and Holly Springs 79 versus 81 Tupelo, 82 degrees Amory, 84 for Columbus, Macon, Aliceville, all around 84 degrees. So that difference north to south is because of that front arriving earlier farther north and kind of limiting those temperatures just a little bit. So here's a look at that 7-day forecast. 86, again, a few below the record high for your Thursday. We're 81 by Friday. And that was that 20% chance for rainfall we're looking at. It's the only chance in the next 7 days I could start making an argument for 30%. And 30% is not a huge coverage, right? So we are way drier than we typically expect because of that huge ridge back to the west. That's one of the things that we've got to see break down before more meaningful rainfall enters the forecast. I think it eventually will. We'll look at that with Gabe in a minute. But notice your weekend: 67 Saturday, 74 degrees for Sunday. In a lot of ways, I mean, if you're choosing the next 7 days, tell me the 2 days that are better than that. The answer is there aren't any. Those are the two that, if they're going to qualify, would be the case. Now, coming up here in about 60 seconds, we're going to talk to Professor Possible himself about some of those chances for rainfall, and in particular, the opposite of that, burn bans. That's as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
Game day brings its ups and downs. Celebration and disappointment. Anxiety and relief. Friends and enemies. You can always argue over who should have won, but everyone can agree on great food. Appetizers, entrees, drinks, party platters, or even the taste of sweet victory. There's something for every season at Eat With Us restaurants.
We can see the lowering. We're going to have a good shot at that as it approaches the Rienzi area. Tornado warning now issued. We'll do a push alert behind the scenes for folks here up here in Alcorn County. Rotation on this thunderstorm increasing to the point back into Tippah County as well, where the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for your locations.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
So there is a look at your current burn bans. Of course, that one up there in Alcorn County, the one that stands out. But we are still starting to see those come up more and more. Very dry atmosphere, and that is conducive to some of those burning concerns. So as we bring it back in here to the Room to Room Weather Center, we are continuing to look up there towards Alcorn County. But even as we look at that extended pattern, more dry weather is in the picture, and that will, of course, worsen our burning conditions. So while Alcorn County is the one that stands out right now, I'm going to be shocked at all if those counties start to become more numerous over the next couple of days. And the drought monitor heading into this Thursday, not excited about that either. Okay, what I'm going to swap this over to is one of our long track model runs. This is our GFS run. And yeah, Professor Possible is the question, or possible is the statement, I should say, because what I'm going to do, there's Mississippi, but we're going to keep it on the broad view here real quick and show the limited amount of moisture that we're going to see over the next couple of days. And like I mentioned, long track models, so it is going to show a lot on this real quick. So I'm just going to keep clicking.
What day are you at?
We are currently Friday. So that's where you tracked out just a moment ago with our Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lawpon. There is our cold front moving through the area. Again, very unimpressive. We are Saturday now. Saturday looks dry, good for baseball. Sunday, looking good for baseball. Start of next week, still not showing much. And it's not until we get closer to April that we get some of these chances start to move in. And again, that's going to be one of those frontal systems that do try to push into North Mississippi. But guys, that's not impressive. That's not any heavy rainfall. And while we don't want severe weather, one of the things that's attached to severe weather is heavy rainfall, and that's meaningful rainfall. So that's what we're looking for. Not severe, but we do still want some of those impactful showers, and if it does result in a few rumbles of thunder and sub-severe storms, I'm not complaining about that either, as long as we keep the severe weather aspect out of it. Once we move more into Wednesday, there's more moisture starting to build in. Again, some of that Gulf moisture returning to the Mississippi area. And as we continue to move in, I want to get to a specific date. It's going to be more towards April 6th, where we get some of that that frontal system to develop up there towards the Great Lakes. That's where a cold front will extend off of it, and that's where we could get some of those showers and potentially some of those thunderstorms as well. That's the impactful moisture. That is 2 weeks away. Yeah, not looking good when we're talking about burn bans, not looking good when we're talking about drought monitor. It does have some potential to it, and we are keeping that day circled on our map. But one of the things that it has done in trends is every single run comes out and it pushes it a day later, pushes it a day later, pushes it a day later. So there's not confidence in this just yet. We do expect the system to move in early April, but the exact day that it'll move in still has some questions, and the exact impacts that it'll have still has some questions. But what I am hopeful for is that as we enter into April, the phrase is April showers bring May flowers. I'm really hoping those showers begin to verify, because as of right now, end of March, it's as dry as it can be. Basically a desert here in North Mississippi. While that may be a stretch, we're not getting a lot of rainfall. So drought worsening Thursday. We're getting that updated drought monitor coming your way here in just a couple of days. But of course, for baseball forecasts or things that need to get done outside, it is perfect for it. So get out there, crank those lawn mowers, get those yards mowed, and you will be good to go. But Matt, Professor Possible, not exactly looking that good right now. So unfortunately, I think that people are going to be more mad at Professor Possible than anything else as we look at that extended forecast and see very, very little rainfall. And as folks have probably planted those gardens, might have to do a little bit of extra work and get those watering pots out as well.
Absolutely. Appreciate that, Gabe. And if you would like to subscribe, you can find us on all the different versions of social media, YouTube, Facebook, yada, 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 yada. We're even on TikTok, though I think TikTok may or may not be up today. We're still working on trying to get that whole vertical video thing figured out. We think we have a version of it, got to tweak it a little bit, but certainly download our apps for iOS, Android devices, and we appreciate the hundreds of thousands of you that have done that. Our next live broadcast at 10 p.m. tonight, our meteorologist Gabe Mayer will have the latest on the game of the week. In fact, Gabe, let's pull that up here real quick if we can to see who is the leader on that. That's something we'll be tracking here in the Room to Room Weather Center as we're looking at, the forecast. And tomorrow morning, 6:37, 7:30 a.m., our meteorologist Maggie McCauley will be looking in particular at a couple of things, but any of those rain chances we have there, she'll have the very latest on that as well. Now, Gabe, okay, let's take a look at this. What are we talking about related to that? You know what I'm talking about, game of the week.
Yes, Matt, game of the week. Seems like we have a selected winner at 6 p.m. because of the overwhelming majority.
Wow.
But I'm not saying comebacks are impossible, but when it's 84% one way, that tells me that the folks over there at New Site and Baldwin are excited about getting some Mississippi live weather coverage up there. We are going to, of course, open it up all the way through 10 o'clock. So if you're in Houston, Amory, Walnut, Hatley, Shannon, or Itawamba, there is still a few hours of opportunity to get those votes up. Currently sitting at about 600 votes, so you just get about 600 people and you should be good to go. But 84% still for New Site at Baldwin, and if that remains the case by 10 o'clock, then that's where we're headed. But we'll have those full updates coming up at the 10 o'clock broadcast, so make sure to keep it here in the Room to Room Weather Center for the very latest. And we'll also look at that limited hope that we have for some showers overnight. Matt, assessing that all in more detail as we go into the night and into your morning broadcast as well with meteorologist Maggie McCauley. All the latest details coming your way on Mississippi Live Weather.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. We knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy.